Welcome back. I am here again with Daz Smith, and today we're going to talk about a topic we don't often talk about on this show, but a topic which I have substantial expertise, I should say. I'm not going to undersell it. As you know, my career has been 20 plus years in finance. I spent about 5 years at Morgan Stanley, first as an investment banker, then as a sell-side analyst, where I predicted stock movements, also predicted or called the rationalization of the renewable fuel industry in the US back before 2010. It was actually pretty easy. You just look at all the ethanol plants that were being built, and I was able to predict that we were going to be 50% over capacity, and we were. And 3 companies out of the 4, I think, went bankrupt. So with that as kind of an intro, this is relevant, I promise you, to the channel, which there's a remote viewing angle to this. So in a prior episode, Daz had posed the classic skeptics question on remote viewing. If this technique is so amazing, why aren't all remote viewers millionaires by now? Daz, easy question. Let's tackle that one.
Not so easy to answer. In regards to the, I know we're talking about the lottery. That's the harder thing. I think there's a trickster element involved, or destiny. But with the stocks and stuff, it's not so easy. For example, I have had to learn this as I go along over the last 4 years, because we set up a company 4 years ago to try to use remote viewing to look at cryptocurrencies and stock markets and stuff like that. And it's very, we have to be honest, it's very experimental because no one ever did it properly before. So, we started off with not really knowing what we're doing to learning as we go, on the job training, as they would say.
Well, I think there was a group of remote viewers that tried to do it. I believe it was an Ed Dames kind of production where they started a financial firm, but they made claims that when you're dealing with the SEC, you have to be very careful about what claims you make to investors. And as a result, I believe there was, and I don't know if it was Ed Dames, so I want to be very clear with the audience because I don't want to disparage anybody and it's not meant to disparage, but I'm just trying to be factual. There was some group of remote viewers that tried to do it, but they had an issue with the SEC and it didn't turn out very well. I believe there was an investigation and things like that. So it has been tried and is very publicly failed for all sorts of reasons. That doesn't mean to say it hasn't been done in private, under the radar, because this is something that, particularly when you're dealing with money, you don't want to draw a lot of attention to yourself. For instance, if you look at lottery winners in states where they're required to disclose their identities, it attracts the wrong element in many cases. Also, if you're coming to a lot of money and you're an unsophisticated money manager, you're also going to do a lot of stupid things, right? And there's a lot of charlatans that are going to show up and take your money. So let's keep in mind that even outside of remote viewing, it's not always a good thing to win the lottery if you don't know what you're doing. So anyway,
but
so
we do have, there is some elements of a trackable history of people using remote viewing to make money. Like Target did it in the late 70s for a period, I think 10 weeks, and I think they made something like 150,000 starting off with.
It was like the silver market
on the silver market, yeah. So we've been playing with a similar thing on that, and as you rightly said just now, we sell ourselves to the people that subscribe to us is infotainment. So it's information, but it's entertainment at the same time. We're not giving people financial advice. We're just giving them information to do with as they wish. We're not saying go out and do this. So it's really exploratory, but it seems to work quite well. And to answer your question, no, I'm not rich. I don't have a lot of disposable income to invest. And, I feel you need a good amount to invest to increase. But saying that...
No, you don't. No, you don't. But
to get to the big amounts, I think you do. Unless you hit that 100x
if
coin.
If you play the options market,
we haven't looked at that,
but you can also lose a lot. right?
Yeah.
So 80% of, or something like greater than 80% of options expire worthless. So if you had a very strong view on certain stocks, if you play options, you can make a substantial amount of money with it's equivalent to leveraging your bets. That said, if you're wrong on those options, which again, 80% plus of options expire worthless, you're going to lose all your money, 100% of what you place the bet in. So there are ways to do it. Yeah, there are ways to do it, but you can't be wrong, and you're going to lose a substantial amount of your wealth if you don't time it correctly. So my personal view is, if you're going to use remote viewing, you should apply it like an intelligence operative or an intelligence analyst, not operative, would apply it, which is, and frankly, as a research analyst would apply it, so that you use mosaic theory, which is, it is one element or one technique you use to compose a piece of that overall picture, but you should also be using other elements to construct the narrative for that particular stock or your particular investment thesis as you put it together. And I think people who operate in the financial services industry are very akin to not putting money on, quote, unproven, even though it is proven in the intelligence community, techniques like remote viewing. So the way to maximize your success in that particular field is to do it under the radar. Right. And to provide some level of services, not just remote viewing, that your picks are vetted by someone who has experience in the industry, who can say, no, that's not right. Or what you're seeing is not what you think it is. It's actually this. Right.
We do have that in some regards within our operations. We have a technical analyst, Marty, with, I think, 27 or 30 years experience in technical analysis.
So he's looking at like shoulders and just the way the stock movement, the stochastic movement is
how it moves.
All right. So that's like technical analysis is also another.
Yes.
You're going to get a debate in the finance industry
absolutely.
Because there's that, and there's also fundamentals analysis, which are completely different. Whereas a fundamental analysis will be like, well, what's the position of the company in its market niche? What are the competitive factors? What's its cash flow? I think combining, because technical analysis has worked, but you also want to ground it with it's kind of the meat and potatoes type people are going to look at it and be like,
and we do say this, and we do indicate this to all the people that are subscribed to our services, that we're one part of the puzzle, and to take our stuff with a pinch of salt and really do your analysis on lots of different investigative levels. But saying this, I do feel we do provide some very interesting information, and I'm not rich myself, but over the 3 years that I've been investing, and I only have a small amount to invest as of today, and we're in a bad state of affairs at the moment because FTX has collapsed the market.
We'll get to that in a second, because I want to ask those questions.
I'm probably about 250% up on my investment on a bad day like today, but on a good day like 6 months ago, I was up nearly 800% on my investment in 3 years.
So tell me how to, without, so I also understand why, if you're focusing on crypto, you kind of have to do technical analysis because there's really nothing else, right? Like there's really, whereas with a stock, you can do the technical analysis, the movement of the stock, but you can also look at the fundamentals of what's driving free cash flow and all that good stuff. So how does your offering work? Let's say I'm Goldman Sachs, and I'm not saying you've done business with Goldman Sachs, but let's say I'm a prop trader at Goldman Sachs. I don't even know if they still do that right now. Maybe they do. They did. Then the market collapse happened and they got rid of all those desks, and they may have gone back to it right now. But let's say I'm a prop trader at Goldman Sachs and I have some extra money to spend. Let's say I spend it on your service. What service do you provide?
We provide several different things, and it's not all financial based, because our subscribers also like a few mysteries targets fit in there as well as part of the mix. But as our service is what we do, generally every month we look blindly at 3 or 4 cryptos, so they get tasked to us blindly. Every single month, 4 of us as remote viewers, we also try to look at what the top news reports are going to be for the following month, and that's global news, financial news, crypto news, and all sorts. And we do that every single month. And we do the occasional woo-woo or mysteries target mixed in as well. And lots of other bits and pieces. Like every week I look at the latest crypto news and do a report on that. Some of the other people do lots of other bits. So as I said, it's lots of infotainment, and not all of it is remote viewing based, really. But the crypto stuff is, as I said, it's very experimental. And it's very interesting, especially for me, how it's developed, because over the 4 years we've been doing it, I've seen that the moment I switched to knowing that I'm doing a crypto target, because I do know I'm doing a crypto target. So I want to make that clear. So I am front loaded, but it's 1 out of 21,000 targets at the moment.
Right. So you're saying there's 20, again, I am completely ignorant. I want to be very clear on crypto. Yeah. I don't want to bill myself as a crypto expert, because I am completely ignorant. I know I have a very rudimentary understanding, but when you say 21,000 potential targets, I think you're saying there's 21,000 different cryptocurrencies. There's 21,000
right crypto. Nerdy, it's like 20,700. So every day it changes and it gets more each day. So we're nearly at 21,000. So I know if I was doing a crypto target tomorrow, because I want to tailor the information I get, I need to know it's a crypto, because I then need to know, because I can tailor my RV to get financial data. So I know it's a crypto, but I'm blind to it in the fact that it's 1 of 21,000. And what I personally do, and it's a technique that we've developed, is I first tried and it's really strange, because if you've heard us talk about remote viewing and some of the others, you understand that we do, to kickstart our remote viewing, we do this ideogram, which is like a quick doodle spark of information. Mm-hmm. Strangely, the moment I switched to doing cryptos, my ideograms started trying to draw to me what the market movement for that crypto was going to do over the next year. And
so for folks that don't know too much about remote viewing, when you receive the target, you write down the coordinates, and then you kind of draw. You're supposed. I guess I'm not even doing it right. You're supposed to just let your subconscious just draw across the screen. So what you're describing, and correct me if I'm wrong, is as you let that ideogram go, it'll either angle up and to the right or down and to the right. Is that correct?
Not quite as nuanced, not quite as specific as that. It does have these little nuances as well, but strangely, over a period of months, my ideograms went from normal, like squiggly shapes in square shapes for structures, to shapes that would indicate how I felt that the flow of the market would be for that crypto. And interestingly, if a crypto was having
so to stop you right there, just to give you so not only would it indicate kind of the direction of the stock, but the volatility of the stock, but the volatility. So the more perturbed it was, the more movement there would be in that currency.
And if I took that ideogram and then looked at it against the chart over, what was happening at the time, and then over the next few months, it would be very eerily similar. But not only that as well, what I instantly found was if I was doing my ideogram and it went backwards instead of forwards, I was like, whoa, what's happening here? And then I started letting the data come in, and it was like saying, well, this crypto is having a few problems. And I write down all the problems I thought it was having. And then when we do our feedback afterwards and we do our data and we check up all of this, I would easily find that crypto was either it had been hacked, or it was having software problems, it was having bugs. So it was really strange to see how the remote viewing process mutated itself almost instantly to take us from real world things to be able to show us the crypto information in these very simplistic drawings. And I thought, it wowed me at the time, how adaptable it was. But so for crypto viewing, so we get a target. I do my initial ideogram, and that shows me a bit of the flow. And that's just generally to get a bit of contact. And then I literally target myself. So I said, okay, now sketch and design the logo and brand of this crypto. And I do that. And then I said to myself, okay, now describe or sketch the primary person, the CEO that's in charge of this crypto. And I do that. And then I say to myself, okay, now let's sketch and describe the technology that the technology or product behind this target. And I try to do that. And then I key myself with things like, okay, now look at the people that hold this. We call them hodlers, but the people that hold this crypto, look at their group sentiment of them all as a totality for the next 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, and 24 months, and try to indicate at each of these points if they're happy or sad. And then finally, we have these graphs for a month, 3 months, 6 months, and 12 months. And we literally put the pen on the graph. We just like try to do an automatic kind of where we think the crypto is going to go. So we do all this information. And then when we get our feedback after we complete the target, I can then start to see if I'm on target by checking to see if the brand or the logo looks anything like the logo I've done, if the CEO looks or acts anything like I've said in there. And if I get those 2 points right, that's kind of an indicator to me that I'm pretty on target with this. So if that's accurate with the known data, the unknown data about what it might do in performance in the future might be quite accurate on this target.
And then how does the product come out? Is it like a newsletter? Is it a video? How is it once a week, once a month?
We put content out pretty much every other day, but on the cryptos. So all 4 of us as remote viewers will get together on Zoom like we are right now, and we'll all describe our data live to the camera and go through it live. And then the person that tasks the target will show us the feedback, so we can then all look at it and say, okay, well, I think I'm right on this and stuff. And we put those out as videos, and we also give all the subscribers our raw remote viewing data as well, which is done on paper, so that they can, if they want to, take it away and analyze it and investigate and do what they want to do with it. So it's lots of video content really that we put out, but they get access to all the raw remote viewing data as well.
Okay. And then what website do they go to sign up for this?
It's patreon.com/crypto viewing. Yeah. So we're called Crypto Viewing doing this. And as I said, it's very experimental, but we have thousands of subscribers, and we do have testimony from quite a few of them. I think at last count, someone said it was 100 that, have come up on our, because we have private forums and members areas and everything behind all this.
And by the way, that site will be in the description below, so people can find it.
Yeah, so we have people that give us testimony saying, you guys, it's not you alone that have done this, but your guys' information has helped us make money. And we've had over 100 people said that they've become millionaires over 4 years from our, I wouldn't say it's all to do what we're doing, but I think we're helping in some small way.
If they sold before the crash.
Yes. Well,
if they converted to cash.
I mean, we have people that play all kinds of things, and it's not just cryptos as well. We have on occasion looked at the gold and silver markets, and I think we looked at oil as well, and I think we looked at a couple of futures as well. So every now and again they chuck a different kind of project in for us to look at. I did quite a few on the gold ones, and I think we were quite accurate on the gold ones. Yeah.
Where do these targets come from? Are they just some of the Patreons that are?
Yeah, I believe there's a mechanism whereby the people that are subscribing to our services can nominate cryptos that they want people to look at. And if you get like 10 people ask for one, I guess the project taskers then pass that to us. And I think the people behind crypto viewing, because there are a couple of people that aren't remote viewers but kind of know what they're doing with a business head and an IT head and that kind of thing, I believe they have sources and they have knowledge as well. The thing is, as a business, they try to keep us as remote viewers disconnected from any of that, is the admin and all that kind of side of it.
Yeah, as it should be.
It would just get in the way of what we're trying to do. So I have to be honest, I'm a bit hazy on how all that happens because the operational side's just kept away from me.
So in any offering like that, I would imagine in any kind of intelligence operator, there should be some all source kind of intelligence center, or just like an analyst who takes the raw intelligence, right, which would be the remote viewing, as well as other signals.
Yes.
Right. So again, I'm not going to get it quite right on crypto, but with the stock market, right, you're going to have signals from the macro environment. So is the yield curve inverted or not? If it's inverted, you're likely to go into recession. Right now, I think it is inverted. Now, the question I think right now, the debate is whether or not we're going to go into, I don't think anybody thinks we're not going into recession. It's just whether or not it's going to be mild or severe. But they would take some of those signals. Also, like you're talking about oil, for instance, you're going to have geopolitical signals like what's going on with the Russian invasion of Ukraine. And you'll have other signals as well. So weather is going to impact that. And then just individual companies, what are individual companies doing? What's the regulatory environment? going to be right now. So right now it's completely hostile to oil companies. So you're going to have upward pressure on that. What's the futures market look like? Are we in backwardation or contango?
Yeah.
So offering something like remote viewing would have to be one component out of many. And if it all aligns, then you're pretty.
Yep.
So one idea would be if you look a year out and look at which stocks are going to be the top 10 performing stocks, right? And then remote viewers kind of look, and then if you have a high correlation among what those stocks are, then you can invest. I wouldn't say the top stock, because if you put all your money on that and it's wrong, then fine. But if the stock that comes in and you have somebody look at it and be like, that thing's a dog, like, there's no way, and they could be wrong, right? You just kind of put that level of overlay on it.
Yeah,
you could have quite a business. But again, I'm just so that I don't get arrested by the SEC. I don't have any dog in this fight, right? Yeah. You're just on this show. You provide this service. And by all intentions, if you're a crypto investor, it sounds like it could be a useful piece of data. But again, I'm not endorsing or offering any stock views. Legalese, right?
And I always tell everyone as well, it's not financial information, it's just infotainment to do with as they wish, but it's definitely not fun. We do not, on everything we do, we have all the warnings, it's not financial advice in any way. And I would say to anyone that hires me on any kind of remote viewing project, no matter financials or whatever, do not trust remote viewing information on its own. Always use it with multiple other sources of information, because we're as wrong as we are right for some of us most of the time. So you have to be very careful of all remote viewing.
Well, it sounds like it's more right than it is wrong, right?
It is for me. Other than, as I said, predictive stuff, I would say, although it's still a good rate, my predictive rate is around about 65 to 68%, whereas my other RV, I would say, is in well above 80%, probably 80, 90% accurate. So there is a bit of a gap.
Yeah. So, but that's future. That's like future forward.
Yeah. And what I can do for you, I mean, I could share the screen now and show you some of the predictions, or what I can do is I can give you, because literally just this week alone, I haven't got them all because I've lost several months of them, but I've got links on my website to 3 years worth, almost 3 years, other than the months where I've missed. So please bear that in mind. But I've got most of my predictions that I did on a monthly basis through crypto viewing that were confirmed as hits that I've put online for 3 years, so people can have a look at those.
And it's on your website, right?
Yeah. If I got screen access, I can literally pull them up and show you some of them now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so these are from 2021, I believe. Yeah. 2021. So these are put out, once these are confirmed, these are put out as like, social media graphics. And these are just like some of the stuff I do on a monthly basis, looking at news. So these are like November. So this is what I would have said in October would be coming out in November as a global news story.
So Mammoth, a story about a key element being found, discovered. What is that?
That's the text from my remote viewing session. I said the word mammoth and a story about mammoth and a key element being found, a discovery, a body or a physical thing, a piece of the creature. And then we had a huge global news story that was on multiple news stories about finding a mammoth tusk at the bottom of the ocean.
So let's go with this. What did you see before SBF? The FTX
I might have some financial ones here. Let's have a look here. Well, this is from September 2021. Looking at again a month ago, I said, the crypto markets would decrease, would be red markets. They dropped. There's going to be bemused brokers. And then we had the worst day in that year. And this was a good one as well. I said there would be a huge mushroom cloud type event next month. Explosives, going to be a huge release, going to be very visual. And then we had this volcano eruption at the time in the mid 2021, which was reported on every news channel. Let me see if there's any more financials. Oh, here's one showing some of my kind of diagrams here that I do. So I said in June, this is going to be like the flow of the mark of this crypto for Bitcoin. I said there's going to be lots of ups and downs, going to be repeated. It feels really undecided, as if it's waiting for something. I also said it feels manipulated, and I tried to draw all these ups and downs, and that was the actual chart of the ups and downs for that month. I'm looking for another one here because we're talking about financials. On this one, looking ahead, I said month in advance, I said it's going to be sharp, angular up, down moves. And there's a sketch there. This feels like strong, energetic moves, healthy growth. This points to a good future. There's loads. So it goes on and on. There's another one there, Bitcoin chart. That's from March. Me trying to draw it there. And then that's the actual chart. But, you can see it's eerily similar.
Yeah, it's pretty close.
And it's not just cryptos, we're doing all kinds of things here. So that's just 2021. I also put up 2022. Obviously, of course, we're not all the way into the year yet, so I've only got a certain amount for this one. So here's some of my 2022 hits so far. That was a particularly good one. So I said that in March, there'd be a big prediction in April about a warship, a grey warship that was going to be in trouble, is impacted. It's got a collision field. And then we have the Russian warship. How many times every month do we hear in normal news stories about a warship that's in trouble with sinking?
Very rarely, because it happens usually in silence, right? Like the
so these are 2022. Here's what's this one? I was looking at the top financial news for February. I said it's going to go down. It's very angry. There's going to be a fast drop in reaction to events, red flashing lights. And here's my ideogram. This is what I was trying to tell you, where the ideograms for me morph into how the market movements. It had this really jagged down movements, and then the Dow plunged 480 points, oil prices, all that kind of stuff. Here's another one, the financial one. So this was top Bitcoin news in February 2022. And I did it obviously in January. And I said there's going to be down, there's going to be a drop cycle, a definite sideways and down fill for Bitcoin this month. It's going to be reactionary, choppy, and an unsteady fill. And, that's one of the many global news stories for Bitcoin that month.
Do you also do this for geopolitical futures?
Yes, some, that's what some of these are. Like, there's some war stuff in here as well. COVID stuff in here. There might be more on the 2021 one, because as I said, this year's it's not finished yet, and I haven't put them all up. And I also got 2020 up online here as well. And on that one, there's twice as many predictions. I had a really good year in 2020.
Yeah, I'm curious about COVID. Like, how did that pan out?
Well, on COVID, this is where it gets stranger. A year before COVID happened, we were doing some of these far out program RV stuff, looking far out, for our taskers within crypto viewing. And one of them, for example, was the Macy Day Parade in 2020. And we all did that as a target. And we were like, well, we didn't know it was that at the time, but we were like, yeah, nothing's happening. I don't get nothing. And they were like, well, we don't understand. The target's Macy Day Parade. And we were like, there's no people. There is. I don't understand. We don't understand. And we were flummoxed. We did not know what was happening. Of course, in hindsight, when COVID happened and stuff, the parade and nothing went on because people were all locked down and all that kind of stuff. We were getting, for a year before COVID, we were getting some very strange data that would overtake our normal RV sessions with, talking about mass demonstrations of people, all kinds of very strange stuff. And one of my remote viewers, and in fact, I got the video about this online, about how we looked at very early in 2020, I think it was January 2020, we were tasked with the origin of COVID virus. And all of us as remote viewers described how it was a leak from a lab. It's only been until the last 6 months that's been an unpopular theory, but it's now with all the latest evidence to come out, it's looking like that is the most likely.
The moment that thing broke out, and the moment I knew that there was a level 4 containment facility, the only one in all of China at the Wuhan Institute of Virology, I knew it was a lab leak. And the better question is why the U.S. had been so resistant on allowing that narrative to form. And it sounds like it was because EcoHealth was subcontracted by NIH, and essentially they engaged in gain of function research. I think the DARPA turned it down, and they're like, no, red flag, we can't engage in gain of function research. So I think that's what happened. So I think this is kind of inadvertently a joint U.S.-Chinese production.
Yeah. I do recommend, though, if you haven't seen it, on my Remote Views YouTube channel, I do have the video of our 2020 sessions where we looked at the outbreak of COVID and what happened there. And it's a great video as well in context now that we have the extra information, because there's also a piece in there by one of our team viewers called Edward Riordan. And 2 years before COVID, I think it was 2 years before, he was getting some very strange data, and he wrote down some words in his RV session that we didn't realize at the time of any significance, and it was gain of function. At the time, no one knew what gain of function was, because it only became a popular phrase during COVID. And he did this, I think, a year or two before COVID, and we missed it because we just didn't know what that meant in an RV session.
Well, Lynn Buchanan predicted it in 1998 for a large U.S. corporation.
Right.
This is complete speculation on my part, but based on context, my gut tells me that corporation was Microsoft, which, if it was, it explains a lot of behavior from the former chief executive. But again, I have no way of corroborating or confirming that, and it's just complete speculation.
So these examples I've been showing you are all the kind of examples I myself and the other viewers put out on a monthly basis through crypto viewing. And just on the news and financial predictions alone, I probably put out 10 a month, and I'd say the other viewers probably put out 10 each a month. So there's like 40 news predictions a month alone, just in that one little bit of work that we do. And that's in amongst the other crypto stuff and the other projects and woo-woo as well.
So how do they do the news predictions? Is it something that, can you do that without it being a blind target? Like, how does that work?
I mean, we know we're looking at news, but there's no way to do it other than that. So and in fact, we're nearly at the end of the month now. So by Monday, I'm going to have to sit down here at my table and say, okay, I've got to now predict what the top global news stories are going to be next month. And I have to sit down and just do it. And I'll just key myself. So I'll do my ideograms just to get me into the mood of it. And then I'll key myself by writing at the top of pages, okay, now look at what the top crypto news for December is going to be. And then a few pages on, I'll write, now look at what the top financial news for December is going to be. And then I may look at what the top US news is going to be, or what the top UK news is going to be. And that's how I do it. I key myself with trying to come out with what will be the top global news. And for example, last month, one of the things I came up with was there's going to be a massive structure is going to have a huge fire. It's going to be in a really prominent city. It's going to be a really devastating fire. And then about a week ago, we had a fire in a Dubai building, and it wrecked the entire building. It was completely on fire. So it's just things like that. The only problem is there's hardly any good news. It is all.
Well, is that because it's just more energetic?
I just don't think any news station anywhere reports hardly anything positive. Anywhere.
That's 100%.
If it's not negative, it's not news kind of thing.
Yeah, if it bleeds, it leads. Right.
Yeah, so it literally is all kinds of things like, markets going down, or I don't know, terrorist attack. We've done several terrorist attacks and weather events, all that kind of stuff. So it does great a little bit after 4 years doing it, because it'd be nice now and again to get a unicorn event or something nice, but not much of that gets reported in global news stories. And I report mine as a personal hit if I can find more than 5 global news sources that are actually talking about it on a certain date within that time period. That's the only way I say, okay, I think that I've actually got a hit on this target on this one.
And then that's how you get your 67%.
Yeah, I'm running at around about 65. Well, 2020, I was at 65. I did just over 100 predictions for news, and I think 65 were accurate. So I think I'm running at around about 65% accuracy, 67% on predicting news events.
Now, have you done any private consulting for asset management firms on particular topics?
I haven't. We've been approached through crypto viewing, but as far as I'm aware, and again, I'm held away from the admin side of it. As far as I'm aware, I'm not sure we're doing anything for that. I think it's mainly just focused on the subscribers, really, the subscriber base.
Now, let's talk a little bit about FTX.
Yeah.
In doing all this remote viewing, did you have any warning signs of that particular event?
I did.
And for people who are here for paranormal stuff, can you quickly explain what FTX is and Sam Bankman-Fried and all that stuff?
FTX was literally just under a month ago one of the biggest crypto exchange and businesses within our crypto I call it Cryptoland's sphere. It was a multi-billion-dollar business run by Sam Bankman-Fried, who was he was a billionaire at the time. I think he had an asset value of something like 15 billion, and it essentially crashed overnight for him, and he lost in a 24-hour period $15 billion. But now, in the 2 weeks since all this has crashed, it's come to light that his entire business over the last 4 years or so has been a complete sham, and it's been fraudulent on so many levels. I mean, it's so complex. They even funded some of the American political parties to the tune of hundreds of millions with some of this money and stuff. And there's, money that was filtered to and from Ukraine, all kinds of very dodgy stuff. And that's
which will be an interesting litmus test for American institutions. If he doesn't go to prison, then that is a strong signal that our institutions are corrupt to the core, because he bought his freedom, essentially.
Millions of people have lost their life savings. I mean, it was crazy. And when you do your research on it, you can actually see, I mean, some of the most wealthiest, most intelligent, well, you think they were intelligent, management funds were literally giving him billions to invest. And he didn't invest in it. And people were buying cryptos from his exchange. They were buying Bitcoin. And now that they've done the analysis, in the bankruptcy analysis, they're actually finding that the company didn't ever own any cryptos. It was taking the money that people were spending on cryptos, through the exchange they thought they were buying, essentially making it look like they had cryptos in an account, and they were using that money and funneling it elsewhere for other services and dodgy deals. It's the biggest issue in cryptocurrency for a long time. And I personally feel we're going to see the fallout from this probably from the next year. We're going to see quite a few more companies fall to this. There are some wavering right at the moment because they've lost tens of millions or hundreds of millions. So, I think we're going to see the fallout from this for a long time to come. And maybe one day they'll get him in court, but he's not. I don't think he's been arrested yet. I think he's still holed up somewhere in the Bahamas.
Yeah, which is, like I said, it'll be an interesting test.
And it is shocking. And I have to be honest, I didn't see any of us massively predict what was going to happen, but I did in the month before do one of my diagrams with a big downwards arrow saying, this is going to be a huge crash. And I actually wrote, I think, the words "huge crash." So I knew something big was coming, but we didn't know to.
And that was of the cryptocurrency market specifically, huge crash, or just
financial market? I think I did that one on, And weirdly, I couldn't work out what it was, because in my sketch, every time, and I wanted to add color on this one, and I hardly ever add color. I could show you the drawing, actually. I think I've got the drawing I can pull up.
Mm-hmm.
And on the RV session, I did this big downwards jagged arrow, but it was green. And I wrote on the session, I don't understand this. If this is a downwards arrow, it should be red. And I think it was because I think my RV was trying to indicate to me the company, because their logo is like this teal-y kind of greeny kind of color. I mean, I might be jumping to a conclusion there, but I did write on the sheet of paper, I don't understand why it'd be a green arrow going down in a jagged way. It didn't make sense to me when I was doing it.
Maybe because they lost dollars instead of cryptocurrency. I don't know.
It might be, yeah. As I said, this is what we're doing is very experimental. We're learning every time I go along what the nuances are trying to tell us, because it's essentially remote viewing in the past for operational use, like when the military used it, it was very good against hard targets, physical targets. But what we're doing with cryptos is it's not physical in any way. It's very conceptual stuff. So we're still in this process of trying to learn what the language of the subconscious.
You should do it with stocks, because with stocks, you can remote view in the past and still predict how the stock's going to perform. So as an example, let's say you're looking at a particular stock and you want to see if they're going to announce a layoff, right? So you can remote view the management team and see if they worked through the financial model to plan for layoffs. And that stuff is material non-public information, so they can't release it to the public until it's already baked.
Yeah.
Similarly, you can also see, if you remote view the investor relations staff on the earnings script that they're writing, what they're going to talk about in the earnings script. And based on that, if you tell any investor that this is what they're going to say, they're probably 70% going to be able to. So as an example, like simple things like,
yeah.
Did they beat their estimates? Did they beat consensus estimates? If the answer is no, that's not terrible, but that's an indicator it's going to go down.
Yeah.
Secondly, are they going to guide up or guide down? Are they, in other words, if they have guidance, provide guidance to the street, are they going to raise their guidance or are they going to lower their guidance? If it's beat and raise, stock is probably going up, unless the overall macro environment's not great. If it's miss and lower, chances are stock is going down. So you can make a lot of money. In fact, I used to, when I invested professionally, no one does this. I was the only one who was stupid enough to do that. I would invest the day before earnings.
Right.
Because I could see, and it's binary. It's either going to go way up or it's going to go way down. Oh, not way up or way up. It's going to go up or down. And generally if I had done my homework, I would be right on the upswing. So anyway, this something to
I mean, sounds like we need to talk to someone that's got experience in stocks like you that could maybe take us on a pathway doing that. As I said, we're growing at a good rate, and I'm just totally honest, it's very experimental what we're doing using remote viewing for this conceptual stuff. But there are other things as well, like I'm part way through a study where I'm trying to use remote viewing for what we call ARV. I don't know if anyone's taught you about that, which is associative
remote viewing.
Yeah. So you pick two targets and you have like target A, which might be, I don't know, the Leaning Tower of Pisa. That's one outcome. And then you have a B target, which would be, I don't know, a river or something. So two different targets, one for each outcome. And then you say to the remote viewer, okay, you don't tell them what the target is, of course, but you make them do the target, and the target will actually be which one of those will be their feedback at some point in the future. So you see what the outcome is going to be after the event, and then you send it to them. So they're essentially trying to look at what they're going to get as feedback in the future. So I've been doing that.
You can actually do pair trading that way. So if you pick two stocks, which is going to outperform the other, and then the one that outperforms you buy, the one that is going to underperform that you short. And then you make a profit off the spread.
Yeah. So I've been playing with that using ideograms, those little squiggles. Because the good thing about the little squiggles is that they can be done by a remote viewer in like 30 seconds, whereas a traditional remote viewing session can take anything from like 2 minutes up to an hour, which, time is money kind of thing. So I've been working out a process where literally I can try to get information on a remote viewer on A or B decision in a matter of seconds. And my initial trial on that, I did 10 targets with 12 remote viewers, and I got the paper again is on my website, my initial trial on that, looking at crypto markets. So I was just trying to look at cryptos a few days in advance to see if they would go up or down, and I had 100% accuracy on the first 10. I've now done another additional 21, so I'm at 31 targets, and I'm running at 84% accuracy on over those 31 targets of predicting if they're going to go up or down.
Interesting. Well, so the other thing
that's quite good for us.
The other thing, when you're catering to financial customers, the other thing you have to look at is what's your alpha. So are you beating the general movement of the market, right? So if the market's up and you predict a stock that goes up, that's not super special. But if you predict that it's going to beat the market by risk adjusted, which means you have to, if the S&P moves up $1, then the stock moves up $1.6, right? It's beta of 1.6. Then you have to beat it by more than that, right? So there's a lot of nuance to it, but it's one of those things that you want to test statistically. If you take a basket of stocks and you do this approach over a 1-year period, are you able to beat a random monkey? And frankly, most professional investors can't beat the random monkey, right? They can't beat the index, which is why I do my own Like I try not to invest in mutual funds. I'll just put it in an ETF because I'll generally beat them.
Yeah. I mean, we do have issues because people have been doing the ARV for a couple of decades in remote viewing, and they have problems with what we call displacement and lots of other things.
But what I actually really really quickly explain how ARV works so that folks who aren't familiar with it can.
Yeah, it's the AB, the associative outcomes thing. You have one target, and you could do it with games as well, because a lot of people do it within remote viewing on betting on like games. They're doing the World Cup at the moment with football, so you'd have one outcome target, which would be if one team wins, and then one outcome if the other team wins. And again,
so there'll be like an image associated with like
with each outcome.
If Chelsea wins, I don't know what Chelsea's colors are, but you'll see blue.
Yeah, we try to use physical objects. So if Chelsea wins, it might be the Eiffel Tower. If someone else wins, it'd be something else, but it won't look like the Eiffel Tower. It'd be something that you could tell the difference instantly by looking at their sketches, the differences. So, so one would be a structure and one might be, I don't know, a bird or something, so that you could, or a life form or something. So you can instantly tell the difference of what you're looking at. So there are lots of people doing ARV on that at the moment and getting good results. But the results generally across the board and we're talking a couple of decades of work here now, hover around about 51 to 65-ish% on everyone.
That's as good as some of the best stock pickers in the world.
Yeah.
If you're 60% right, you're making money for somebody.
Yeah, but we do have issues in that we have this thing that happens called displacement, because there are two targets. They're essentially entangled in some way. You generally a lot of time get the remote viewer describing elements of both targets because somehow they're entangled, because someone thought about them, they're entangled. And we also have the other problem, which I found in my 31 project study that I've just done, in that getting people to do 3 or 4 of these a week over a period of 6 months, the latter stages of the project, I have noticed there is an accuracy level drop off because they just get bored. It's much the repetitive nature of just looking at something that doesn't make them go, wow, bores a remote viewer. So we do have these inherent problems with everything we're doing when we're trying to look at these conceptual kind of financial type stuff. It's very hard to keep it interesting for the subconscious of the remote viewers so that they get excited by it and they're not bored by it.
Now, going back to the original question, why aren't all remote viewers personal millionaires?
Yeah, I don't know. As I said, I believe there's an element of destiny involved, because on everything I'm good. I'm over 80% accurate. And even when I do the lottery targets, I can get 4 or 5 numbers. And then I'll find that there'll be a number or two where it's just 1 digit off. And then I'll try it the next time, and then I'll get 3 digits that are just 1 digit off. And you think to yourself, there's something there, this trickster thing that's stopping. I said, like, I'm just
you heard what happened to Lynn Buchanan, right? Like, he actually got the number 100% correct. He just bought the lottery ticket in Washington, D.C. and not Maryland.
There's definitely something there that I cannot describe. And I totally know that some people are going to say this is just an excuse. I don't know what's going on. All I can report is I get good data. I know people that get amazing data like I do. But we can't win the 100 million on the lottery. And believe me, we've all tried. But there seems to be something there. But again, I can't also explain to you how remote viewing works. We just do not know at this stage either. And until we do know a bit more about how it works, I think this is always going to be an issue. We need to know. It's a bit like a car. You need to know how a car works, an engine works, to be able to tune it up and make advancements. And at this stage, we have no clue whatsoever.
All right, my friend, any final words on investing in cryptocurrency and using remote viewing to?
Well, the market's down, so they do say it's a good time to buy, but I would be very, very careful. Don't believe everything you believe within remote viewing. Always do your due diligence on financials and remote viewing in general. If someone says something about a certain thing with remote viewing data, ask for other information to follow it up, or ask for their track record even. How accurate are you normally? Ask questions. Yeah.
All right, my friend. Always a pleasure.
It's been great fun. Yeah.
If you enjoyed this video, hit like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.